Telegram, July 5th, 1862. Recipient, President Abraham Lincoln. Message: Mr. Lincoln, I am called to the country where Mrs. Stanton is with our children to see one of them die. I will return to the office presently. Sincerely, Edwin M. Stanton, Secretary of War.
Oh, God damn it, all to hell!
Mr. Secretary?
Robert, forgive me. I seem to have burnt my lip on this idiotic contraption again.
What is it?
My inhaler. The Siegel Adams nebulizer. Doctors say will relieve my breathing condition. It's a state-of-the-art machine.
Does it work?
No. What do you want?
I didn't expect to find you here.
But this is my office. Where else should I be?
I don't mean to intrude, sir. Only
Major Eckert! Forgive me, Robert, but I am quite busy. What can I do for you?
Mr. Secretary, this is Senator Hale's daughter.
Yes, I know who she is.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
You called, sir?
I asked you for copies of all telegrams from June 27th of this year. These are dated June 28th. Why are the telegrams from June 28th mixed in with the telegrams from June 27th? It defies reason.
I don't know, sir.
You are in charge of the telegraph. You organize the records. If you don't know, then who does?
I'm certain it was a clerical error.
I want a name, Major Eckert, either yours or someone else's. You decide.
Yes, sir.
Identify the responsible party and draw up a letter of resignation by end of day. And bring me the file for June 28th. I suspect I'll find what I'm looking for in there.
Yes, sir.
Take this with you. Melt the godforsaken thing down and shoot it out of a cannon. Dismissed!
Yes, sir.
You were saying?
Only I didn't expect you to be in.
Why wouldn't I be in?
These flowers are for you, sir. We meant to leave them for you on your desk. I'm so very sorry for your loss.
How is Mrs. Stanton?
Is there something else you need?
My father sends his condolences. Obviously, he would have offered them in person, but as I said, we assumed you would not be here.
Yes, of course.
He lost a child, too. You know, my brother Willie.
Why do you keep telling me things I already know?
I only mean... Well, if you ever needed someone to talk to...
It's very thoughtful, Mr. Lincoln. Thank you for the flowers, Miss Hale.
Thank you for your service.
Good day.
Sir, did you know that he talks about you constantly? Calls you his rock. I know you're not a champion of my father, Mr. Secretary, but I just thought you should know that he's a champion of yours.
Mr. Lincoln, give the President my thanks. I'll be working away for a few days. If you'd be so kind, please ask the President if he would do me the honor of joining me for breakfast at my home tomorrow morning.
Of course.
Mrs. Stanton will prepare eggs and coffee and whatever else he might require.
I will let him know.
Breakfast is at 6 a.m. Sharp, not a moment later.
Yes, sir.
That will be all.
How old was your son?
James would have turned 1 this October.
(1865).
I'm here, Wells! I'm here! For God's sake, I am here.
Mr. President?
I got so lost trying to find the treasury, I ended up wandering around Washington like Lewis and Clark. Only I got no virile Indian squaw to help me find my way.
I'm sorry we weren't able to office you at the White House. Mrs. Lincoln categorically refuses to leave.
That woman's a pain in my ass.
Secretary Stanton thought the Treasury Department would be a suitable location for your temporary office. I hope you find it satisfactory.
Did they bring my liquor?
Yes, sir.
And then I am satisfied.
I recommended the State Department, at least until Secretary Seward recovers, but Stanton objected. He said he was worried Seward's papers would be disturbed. I also suspect he fears certain papers might fall under your eye which he did not wish to be seen.
I found no reason to doubt Mr. Stanton's integrity.
What about his politics? Or his pet project, the Freedmen's Bureau? Do you have reason to doubt that?
Somebody's got to do the work of putting the country back together, Wells.
You know why Stanton called this meeting, Mr. President.
To discuss Lincoln's Reconstruction Plan.
Lincoln's plan? Edwin Stanton is its chief author and architect, Mr. President. With Robert E. Lee's surrender, there are two paths forward in our treatment of the South: punishment or leniency. Which do you suppose Mr. Stanton prefers?
I can tell you which I prefer. It's time to unite the country.
Whose country will it be, Mr. President? Have you read Stanton's plan?
Not yet.
It's all right there, sir. Stanton will order the military to seize southern lands and instruct the Freedmen's Bureau to give them away to the Negro.
40 acres and a mule.
Indeed.
People of the South aren't going to like that one bit.
And how do you suppose they'll feel about a forced military occupation? How will they feel when their seat at the table of government is denied them? How are they going to feel when Negro suffrage becomes the law of the land?
Hell, I love the Negro. No one loves the Negro more than me. But the black vote is one goddamn step too far. They are, as a species, incapable of understanding the responsibilities of the vote.
And certainly not your value as a president. Congressman Bingham and the radical Republicans have already written a draft of the Freedmen's Bill that guarantees Negro suffrage.
That bill lands on my desk, I'll veto it faster than a sneeze through a screen door.
The Republicans have a 2/3 majority in Congress. They can override your veto, sir, but if you pardon the South and readmit the Southern states, the radicals lose their majority.
They won't be able to override me.
That's right, sir. Toss Stanton's Reconstruction Plan where it belongs, in the fire. Wield your executive pen, Mr. President. Grant universal amnesty and pardon the South.
Mr. President, Mr. Wells, forgive me, I am behind my time.
Must be something going around.
Sir?
I was late, you're late, everybody's late. Sit down. Let's get to it, gentlemen.
Mr. President, with your permission, I'd like to draft a Reconstruction policy proposal for the Cabinet's review.
There is already a Reconstruction policy in place, Mr. Wells. Lincoln's policy.
Lincoln's policy was a wartime strategy to bring about peace, not a peacetime strategy for the reunification of the country. As to the question of what to do with the southern states...
Lincoln's policy already answers that question.
The president sees it differently.
Surely the president can speak for himself.
We can't give away southern lands to the Negro Mars. The people of the South won't abide it.
The South lost the war. They have no say in the matter.
They will when I pardon them.
Sir?
Mr. Wells and I agree. Universal amnesty is the best path forward.
Mr. President, if you pardon the South, I will be forced to return the lands we've confiscated from the plantation owners. We won't be able to give those lands to the freedmen, and we won't be able to sell them to fund the operations of the Freedmen's Bureau. There are 4 million free Negroes living in the South, sir. We promised them schools, hospitals, and land. We must make good on that promise.
We must extinguish the flames of rebellion with harmony and union, Mr. Stanton, not pour on more pitch with gross federal overreach.
We give those Negroes land, it's only a matter of time before they start demanding the vote. Hell, Wells tells me the radicals are already planning to make a move on suffrage, and there's nothing I can do to stop them.
Unless you pardon the South. The choice is yours, Mr. President.
Draw it up, Wells. I want an executive order for universal amnesty on my desk by day's end.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
President, wait. What if I can keep Negro suffrage out of the Freedmen's Bill?
The radical Republicans will not compromise on this issue.
If we make good on our promise to the freedmen, they will. Mr. President, if you promise to hold to Mr. Lincoln's Reconstruction Plan, I can keep Negro suffrage out of the bill.
Mr. President, the plantation owners in the South will never stomach
I
this.
don't give a damn about those highfalutin corn crackers. I care about the poor folk down south, my folk.
I'm not taking lands from the poor white farmers, Mr. President. I'm taking them from the rich elites down south. These are the same people who turned their backs on you when you stood with the North against secession. Called you a carpetbagger and a traitor. Have you forgotten, sir?
Of course I haven't forgotten.
If the plantation owners want their lands back, let them crawl to Washington on their hands and knees and beg your forgiveness. And when they do, remind them that President Andrew Johnson does not forget those who've disrespected him.
You can deliver me a freedman's bill without Negro suffrage?
Yes, sir.
Show me.
Mr. President!
You make that happen, you and the Freedmen's Bureau can take the reins on Reconstruction.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Stanton.
Come in, Mr. Langston. Come in, please. Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
You know, I heard you speak for the first time back in '61, I think it was, and you were magnificent. You certainly know your way around a phrase. There was one bit in particular that stood out. One word, actually, though at the moment I don't recall what it was.
Are you all right?
My herbals. Doctors say the smoke relieves the cough. Did you know my father is from Ohio, too?
Yes, sir. My brothers told me stories about him. He ran a station on the Underground Railroad there.
Right out of my childhood home, yes. His opinions about abolition left him with few friends.
The price of a life of principle. He was a good man.
Yeah, well, he used to beat me with a switch when I talked out of turn, which was my frequent custom. A stern man, but like you, a man who stood by his convictions.
Sir, I'm pleased you asked me here. The Equal Rights League wants to ensure that moving forward...
Doughface!
Sir?
That is what you called Lincoln in your speech. Onwards and upwards, though the doughfaces of the North oppose us.
I wasn't referring to President Lincoln, not explicitly.
Isn't he one, though? You see, that's the most useful aspect of the American politician. They're pliable. When I first met President Lincoln years ago, he wouldn't even utter the word emancipation.
But he changed.
You see? Pliable. Mr. Langston, a few months back I sat down with a group of Negro leaders in Savannah, Georgia. I asked them a question. When this war is over, what do you want for your people? And their answer was simple.
Land.
That's right. I made those men a promise that day. I swore I would deliver 40 acres to every freed slave without exception. That promise was solidified into law with the passing of the Freedmen's Bill. That bill is up for renewal in a matter of months.
I've read the bill, sir. And it's an important bill, but with respect, the Equal Rights League wants the vote.
Mr. Langston, President Johnson wants to pardon the South and readmit the Southern states. If that happens, he'll have the power to veto any bill that so much as mentions Negro suffrage. If he gives the states back their sovereignty, then all of that progress, hospitals, schools, land, all of it, gets dumped down the outhouse hole. And you can forget about Negro suffrage because it'll be down there swimming in the excrement with the rest of Abraham Lincoln's legacy.
We want more than 40 acres and a mule, Mr. Secretary.
If you want to steer a horse, Mr. Langston, first you have to get him to take the bit. I've made a deal with President Johnson. If I keep Negro suffrage out of the Freedmen's Bill, Johnson won't grant universal amnesty. He won't readmit the Southern states, and he'll give me the reins on Reconstruction. Once I have them, I'm going to use the Freedmen's Bureau to provide for the freedmen and women down south. And I'm going to use the War Department to put the Union's boot on the South's throat. And I won't let it off until Negro suffrage becomes the law of the land. You have my word.
President Lincoln made promises too. Forgive me, Mr. Secretary, if I don't trust politicians.
I'm not a politician. I'm a lawyer like you. You know, back when I was still practicing criminal defense, I represented a man accused of poisoning his wife. Horrible thing to even imagine, isn't it? Though from time to time, I'm certain I've given Mrs. Stanton plenty of cause to entertain the thought. At any rate, the man swore he was innocent. State recovered what they claimed was the murder weapon from his bedside drawer, a vial of poison. Still, he denied the charge, and I believed him. I was determined to prove his innocence. So right there on the courtroom floor in front of the judge and jury, I drank from the vial, and I did not drop dead. And in so doing, I helped an innocent man walk free. There was only one problem, though.
What's that?
He wasn't innocent. I put on a good face in the courtroom, but at home that night, suffice it to say, I was fully evacuated. I couldn't leave the outhouse for a week. But you see, Mr. Langston, I hate to lose. Sometimes in order to get what you want, you have to pinch your nose, grab the poison, and swallow it down.
What you're asking is a lot to stomach, sir. For me and the Equal Rights League.
Maybe this will help the medicine go down.
A Union insignia.
I am appointing you Inspector General of the Freedmen's Bureau. You'll serve as my special liaison to the South. The Equal Rights League will have to stand down on suffrage for a time, but in exchange they will gain the might of the Freedmen's Bureau, and together we will force real change, a true progressive agenda down the South's throat.
You say your father didn't have many friends.
None.
What about you?
Me? I am a disavowed Democrat who betrayed his own party to work in the cabinet of a radical Republican. I have no friends.
You make good on your promise, sir. And you'll have a friend in me.
Telegram, April 16th, 1865. The national flag will be displayed at half-staff. The officers of the armies of the United States will wear the badge of mourning on the left arm and on their swords, and the colors of their commands and regiments will be put in mourning for the period of 6 months, by command of Edwin M. Stanton, Secretary of War.
Secretary Stanton.
Robert? Well, come in, have a seat, please. May I offer you anything?
No, thank you, sir. I'm fine.
How was your mother?
Actually, sir, that's why I'm here.
What's the matter?
She will not leave the White House, sir. She refuses. I've tried to reason with her. I've tried begging her. I've even tried forcibly dragging her out myself, but she will not be moved, sir.
Yes, I see.
I understand President Johnson is scheduled to move into the executive mansion later this evening.
Well, that's right.
I don't mean to put you in a difficult situation, but might we have a few more days? My mother is quite distraught. I've never seen her so severe before.
All right, of course, Robert. I'll let the president know.
Thank you, sir.
Take as much time as you need, and if there's anything I can do for you, anything at all, do not hesitate to call on me. My door is always open to you.
Well, there is one thing.
I'm listening.
Secretary Stanton, Senator Hale and his daughter are here to see you.
Send them in, Major.
Yes, sir.
You were saying?
I can come back another time.
Well, that's not necessary, Robert. Lucy is here. I'm sure she'd love to see you.
Mr. Stanton.
Mr. Hale?
These flowers are for you, sir.
Thank you, Miss Hale. They're lovely.
Robert,
Lucy?
how are you?
Mr. Lincoln, might you escort your fiancée to the foyer so Mr. Hale and I may speak in private?
No. Actually, sir, I should go. My mother needs me. Miss Hale.
Father.
Go on.
What was that all about?
The engagement is off.
Oh, since when?
A few days back.
What happened?
With respect, I'm not here to talk about my daughter. I'm here to talk about this Faustian bargain you've struck with Andrew Johnson.
Oh, the White House leaks like a drunkard's bladder, always has. Who told you?
It doesn't matter who told me. It matters that they think I'm important enough to tell. If you go down this path, I will not follow, and neither will the Republican Party. I will make sure of that.
John, please, let's at least discuss this.
You want to strike Negro suffrage from the Freedmen's Bill? There is nothing to discuss.
I don't have to explain to you the significance of keeping the Southern legislatures impotent.
I don't have to explain to you the significance of the vote. If you think the party is going to fall in line with suffrage off the table, it'll be a lonely road for you to haul. Stanton.
Do you know why you got voted out of office?
Because I stick to my principles, even when it's unpopular.
No, because you think bending and breaking are the self-same thing. John, please. I swore to my father an oath against slavery. Like the father of Hannibal against Rome. And like Hannibal, I've spent every ounce of energy I can muster in rabid pursuit of that goal. But Hannibal lost, John. From Spain, of all places, he began a direct assault into Rome. And as resourceful as he was on the field of battle and as committed as he was to his cause, he still fell. Do you know why?
I didn't come here for a history lesson.
Because the Romans were patient. They waited out the enemy until Hannibal exhausted himself, and when the time was right, they crushed him beneath their feet. I will do the same thing to Andrew Johnson, but I need your help. The Freedmen's Bill is up for renewal within the year. Congressman Bingham is already working with the radical Republicans to revise the Freedmen's Bill to include Negro suffrage.
I'm aware. I'm advising Congressman Bingham.
Well, advise him to stop. If the Republicans load that bill with suffrage provisions, Johnson will kill it dead, and the Bureau will not be able to achieve its purpose.
Why not speak to Bingham yourself? You're very persuasive.
He despises me. He always has.
What did you do?
I bested him in a debate.
What did you do?
He says I cheated.
What did you do?
I cheated.
Ah, you're insufferable.
I'm not asking Bingham to stand down on suffrage forever, just until the Freedmen's Bureau is fully operational. Once I command the reins of power on Reconstruction, the path for suffrage will be clear. And there's nothing Johnson will be able to do to stop it. Please, John, you promised me your support. Now, do I have it?
If Johnson doesn't want suffrage in the Freedmen's Bill, let him register his displeasure with a veto. We have a majority. We can override it.
If the Southern governments are restored, you won't have a majority. Do not be a fool.
I believe that all men are created equal, white and black, and until the day that all men can vote, I will not compromise, and neither should you.
Mr. Secretary.
Robert, come in, please. I'm so sorry we were interrupted earlier.
No. It's
After
fine.
you left, Senator Hale told me the unfortunate news about you and Lucy. Now, had I known of
Please,
that, I'd...
sir, it's fine.
Well, all the same, Mrs. Stanton often remarks that my foot has a rather unusual fondness for my mouth, so please, forgive me.
There's nothing to forgive. Sir, that's actually why I'm here.
Oh?
There's something that I think that you need to know, Mr. Secretary, about Lucy.
All right.
I recently made some rather unpleasant discoveries about her character, discoveries that were made all the more unpleasant by my father's murder. It seems that Miss Hale is not who she appears to be.
How do you mean?
Well, it was brought to my attention that she has been carrying on with another man both before and after our engagement behind my back.
I see.
And needless to say, I called off our nuptials the moment that I heard.
Robert, I am so sorry.
I almost didn't say anything. I almost didn't come to you at all, I suppose, because even after everything, I still feel this foolhardy need to protect her.
Protect her? From what?
From you, sir.
Now I don't understand.
Her lover. The one that she's been seeing behind my back. It's John Wilkes Booth.
"1865" is an Airship production, starring Jeremy Schwartz as Edwin Stanton, also featuring Ian Ferguson, Stephen Walters, Jessica Renee Russell, R. Bruce Elliott, J. Michael Tatum, William Jackson Harper, and Reed Birney. Created by Stephen Walters and Eric Archilla. Directed by Robert McCullum. Written by Stephen Walters and Eric Archilla. Executive producer, Lindsey Graham. Co-executive producers, Eric Archilla, Robert McCullum, and Stephen Walters. Music and sound design by Lindsey Graham. To find out more about 1865, go to 1865podcast.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter at 1865podcast. And if you're a fan of the show, please consider supporting us. Become a patron at patreon.com/1865podcast. New episodes air weekly, and look for special Inside the Episode interviews with the writers and producers of the series to find out more about the real history behind 1865.